about maybe 4 cars a month for a total of a few hours because it's part-time used as an office. And it's safe for elderly patients who can't walk well, actually to get up, walk across the turf. Part of it's gravel, but it's been overgrown with some grass for a while. So I've mentioned this to council members and other township workers informally, and I was told the ordinance is very, to say the put it mildly, poorly written. It doesn't describe, doesn't define the lawn. Saccone Field and the Midget Football League are similar to our lot. They have some turf, and they are certainly not lawns, and nobody gets tickets for parking there. But after that happened, I got a ticket, and then Pacer were getting tickets because they were told not to park on the lawn. So the issue is, I'm hoping that the council can speak to Keith or amend the ordinance or make a clarification that things that had pre-existing uses, and actually I got a certificate of occupancy for this that included that lot, and Larry, you were there because I came to the planning board and they really couldn't help me. It seemed to be more of a legal ordinance issue. Keith says he's just enforcing the ordinance. I think he's over-enforcing the ordinance and improperly. There's other ordinances, and I'll mention the section 80.3 because I looked at this, that should be overriding because they pre-existed and are certainly more important. It says in interpreting any new ordinances that it should be for the promotion of public health, safety, comfort, and convenience. I can tell you, our current mayor's dad was there years ago, and he parked in that lot. And he knows it's been used as a parking lot, and it's a lot safer. So I'm hoping, the chief of police and the police are all for it. They say, Doc, get them off the street. And considering that it's pre-existing and non-conforming, I'm going back. I was told now to go back to the land use board for a certificate of non-conformance. Hopefully that'll work, but I'm not sure what to do. But I still think it's also an ordinance issue because this ordinance came into effect long after we were using that lot. And it conflicts with other ordinances. And the lawn ordinance, 42-3.2A, does not mention anything about pre-existing ordinances or what would preempt the other. So to prevent, and I've written and called the township manager, and it's fell on deaf ears. I mean, I've got at least 5 letters that I can document. So nobody sort of addressed it, and I felt a need to come here to let you know. I don't think that was the spirit and intent of this law. I was told that the no parking on the lawn was, they had broken down trucks and people's pickups parking in their front lawn, and it really looked bad. I could see that, but that's not what's happening here. And hopefully we can continue to use that lot for what we've been using it for, intermittent parking.
Now, is that an actual frontage? Is the lot, it's not actually in the front of the building, is it? It's on the side.
It's on the side.
It's actually on the side, so it's not really
a lot. That's
front
correct.
yard, right?
Yes.
I have a question, and maybe our solicitor can help out with the legal issue. If we or if we don't amend the ordinance and we keep it the same, and you say the land use board waivers then to be able to park there, the variances, will legally, even if we still, would we have to amend our ordinance to match him to be able to use that as, some type of parking? Because what happens if somebody gets hurt or falls and it's not handicap accessible and all that kind of pavement issue that you need for parking for businesses? That's my question.
Well, there are a lot of issues about the business side of it, but apparently what he's going to do is go to the board, normally the zoning board of adjustment, you guys have them apply. They can look at an issue to see if it's a pre-existing non-conforming use that should be allowed to continue. That's a determination they typically make. Some ordinances don't allow that because they'll say welfare issues. Initially that's the zoning board's province. They can look at that and make that call. If he gets a pre-existing non-conforming use certificate from the board, it doesn't affect the rest of your ordinance. I mean, there would be no need to amend it unless you had a desire to for some other reason. Now, you do bring up a good point with respect to parking facilities used for businesses and handicap requirements. I'm not particularly familiar with our regulations with respect to parking because we don't deal with them planning board, but, usually those are impervious areas with areas for handicap and, that type of thing. Again, that may be a pre-existing non-conforming type use, though handicap usually is not. Typically, you've got to bring things up to handicap code.
Yeah, except,
Just with Dr. Parker,
I
period,
could
right?
address that though, we would not be required under the ADA regs to change that for handicap, and it's more handicap accessible with them using that lot.
I'm not trying to say you have to, I'm
Right,
just saying,
yeah.
just address.
But I've looked into that issue, I just want to address that. We would not have to change anything in this building a lot to make it.
If
It's not
they would,
really
if they gave you a variance from the land use board.
correct. Or if even if the ordinance is changing, we wouldn't have, because it's a pre-existing condition, and we don't see enough volume or have the employees that reaches the threshold to have to conform to the Disabilities Act, Americans with Disabilities Act. I did check into that. The question is, what if the zoning board of adjustment says no? And they want us to blacktop it? Because this one other issue, I think it's within 200 feet, you're supposed to notify the residents. I have a petition signed by every resident within 900 feet that says they don't want to change, and I'll tell you why. In addition to use as a parking for 50 years, their kids play on that like we did when we were 10, 15 years old. The neighbors' kids come in after hours, and so they don't want it blacktopped, and neither do we. It would destroy a nice turf field with some gravel that's, again, only used really sparingly for parking.
Well, I mean, do you have an application pending? Or, okay,
I sent one in recently.
so
Yeah.
you have that. I mean, you also have variance type applications that you can make. I don't know if you made that in the alternative. But do you have an attorney that's helping you with this?
Excuse me.
I mean, those are types of things that you can bring before the boards under our current ordinances without having to amend the ordinance. One of the problems, and I would suggest that the council really shouldn't prejudge what you're going to do based upon what your board may do, or let your board act, and then, determine whether, if you disagree with it, and you feel that an ordinance should be changed, change it at that time. And one of the problems with, amending an ordinance is making it uniform for everybody across the borough. One of the concerns I heard expressed tonight was you have trucks parked in, residential areas that, they're broken down. That was when the ordinance was passed. I didn't write it, I don't really know, but there's always that uniformity issue.
Yeah, and if I may address that, it's that very issue that I think this ordinance needs to be modified. It does not describe the spirit and intent of the law, and it should have. It does not define lawn as a residence or business use, or it does not say that there's other conflicting ordinances that should override it. I think it was very poorly written. I don't know who wrote it, but it's all it says is don't park on the lawn. Well, that means we need to ticket everybody at Cooney Field and the midget football league field and Little League field too. In fact, I have pictures, you need to ticket the township because their trucks are parked on the turf on Commerce Street. So it did not define it very well, and it's not uniform because some people are doing it and getting away with it and some aren't. So I think that really needs to be addressed by council, because if we can't do it, then the township shouldn't be parking on grass either, to make it uniform.
So to follow on, we should be at the planning board instead of here.
Right, in my understanding, that's where he is, and, he's telling us that this is a pre-existing
October
non-conforming
6th.
use for 40 years. That's not a determination council can make, that's a
No,
determination of
no.
the board, and I would say don't express any opinions
What
on
I'm
it.
saying is,
But-
we gotta wait for the planning board to make their decisions and everything, because if we do something here tonight, we'll be going before someone here, reaching October 6th, right?
Yeah.
So,
You're not gonna get an ordinance done there anyway. I would suggest,
No, but-
see what the board does.
That's what I'm
If you feel like- If you feel like you need to be made,
The land use board,
Correct.
see what the outcome of that is, and then proceed from
That's
there.
it.
Right, and council
And I do
definitely
believe that
feels-
we changed the ordinance to meet state statute under, I believe under the Boca Code, and about parking on front lawns. I think that's a state statute, if I'm not mistaken.
Don't know, I wasn't addressed that one.
And again, the main point here,
Yeah.
I see the thing.
the main point was to make sure that council and works and everybody's aware of this issue, because it may come up again.
Thanks for coming out.
All right, well, thank you.